friends. Tonight I have some tips for you to get out of depression. If it's even possible, these things are my own account. These are self-evident. This is what I do. And this is what you'd call guerrilla tactics. Doing it for you. There's all kinds of little tips, big tips, that we all could share with each other. I encourage you to do so as well, to help out the others. And if this possibly saves a life, because the lowest of lows, sometimes we don't make it out. Many people have gone that way. If you've survived up to a certain age, it's still there. We're still going through the days, and we still can get to that darkness that we've possibly never even been that deep before. So if we can strap on some tools here, allow me to share with you some things that I do. I'll go into a little bit of detail so that way you kind of know why I think that these things do what they do for me. So let's say I'm in a low. I personally think that all of the situation, from depression to ups and downs, it all has to do with the ion channels inside of your brain. The calcium ion channels, the potassium ion channels, the glutamic acid part of it. If you look up every single one of these things, you got to go deep, and you will find research papers or whatever, lab reports, where they'll talk about glutamic acid, potassium ion channels, calcium ion channels. You're basically gummed up. And when you talk about brain fog, or you talk about depression, me personally, I can actually have the head feel of being clogged. A clogged feeling. I've not ever heard anyone ever talk about this. Not ever. So I will. Maybe you can identify this as well. I've gotten down to the point where if I am eating certain foods, which it's not necessarily the foods, it's the electrolytes in the foods. So potassium foods, high potassium foods, bananas, potatoes, etc. Really any kind of potassium foods. Some foods have added potassium to them. Cereals, a lot. Look on the ingredients, look on the back. If it's a long, super long thing, such as a Totino's pizzas, take a look at the paragraph back there on the ingredients. The 5 chapters on the back. Take a look at it. Sodium this, so calcium this. It's not just calcium, it's not just potassium, it's potassium sorbate, it's potassium chloride, etc. On and on and on. What do you think this is doing to your body? What do you think this is doing to your brain? Well, first of all, you want to eliminate that stuff from your nutrition completely. I think a lot of people will say, yeah, probably. You're going to get this in a lot of sauces. You're going to get this in a lot of drinks, liquids that you could buy, sodas, sodium benzoate. It's not just sodium, it's sodium benzoate. The same stuff they put in fireworks. Even this beer I'm drinking right now, it has added potassiums to it. So, I'm in a low. What have I been eating? I can almost pinpoint it. Okay? So I will back off certain foods, And I'm getting down to a point where there's calcium foods, there's potassium foods, there's glutamic acid type foods, proteins, chicken, whey protein, cheese, all the proteins that you would get from meats or eggs, whichever. Eggs are high in glutamic acid. If you look online and you do a search for glutamic acid, high foods, glutamate high foods, glutamine, there's going to be a list. Take a look at them. They're kind of skewed. So look at numerous lists, and you'll notice that some are a little higher than others. Or they're different, the lists are. Same with potassium foods, same with calcium foods. Calcium, it's going to be loaded. Lots of calcium in all kinds of foods. Calcium carbonates, calcium chloride, calcium this, calcium that, magnesiums. You take it in milk. Milk has added vitamin D, added vitamin A. That's going to increase your your calcium. My brain's not rolling with me right now. Your absorption. So vitamin D, you're taking in a lot of vitamin D, maybe even supplementing. That's going to up your calcium absorption. So here you are in a zombie state. Where am I at? Which 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. You almost get to the point where you're not even really eating. Well then, I magically start to feel better. All these weird things are happening with my stomach. When I'm in a super low, my stomach is usually completely messed up. Bad. Constipation, whatever. And I'll have cramps. And it's to me, things are not moving down there. And it is brain related, for sure. Because as soon as I start doing these things start to get going. So you got to understand that there's portions of your brain that are literally gummed up, and you gotta look at the research papers. You gotta analyze this yourself. And this is one person. This is me. Numerous people with this situation. When you're in the lowest of lows, and you say, "Man, I really don't want to be in those lows. What can I do?" Usually people will go to someone else. "Excuse me, what can I do? I pay you, and you make money off of my detriment here, and so if I get better, you're not really going to make any more money." And then you get bounced around. If it might take numerous different routes that we must do, which is convenient for them because they can get you back in that chair and they can keep draining you. So I'm saying, hey, fellow humans with this condition in their brains, consider that the osmosis, the cellular functioning of your brain is messed up. And we're not functioning the same as the person next to you. Their moods are not going up or down, and they're not having lows, they're not having highs. There's cause and effect. And that's something that you have to consider. Cause and effect. And I know the humans, they really don't want to intercept too much because they don't want to be confused themselves. They don't want to chew on things that are going to mess them up, especially from someone who's not all there. Yeah, well, that's who we are. And that's why it's evident. And in our craziness, whatever, if we can analyze and get to the root, or if we can understand that cause and effect, then we can get on. Even with me doing all these things, I'm still bobbling here and there with my moods. It's not 24-hour sunshine. All right, so it's relief is what it is. I'm relieving this. So why do people with depression and mood swings drink a lot of alcohol? Why do they drink a lot of coffee? Why are some people on the streets with mental this have meth and cocaine or crack addiction? Why is that? And why do they depend on these? Why is it that when we're in a super low and we get drunk one night and we wake up the next day and we feel hungover, still we feel rejuvenated for a couple of days, and then got to go back, got to get drunk again, got to get that stuff in you, and maybe you're not even identifying that you're clearing your head out. Well, if you have, then come along with me. Yeah, I do drink alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. I've drank alcohol ever since I was a teenager. And I've had years where I didn't drink any alcohol at all. And the ups and downs were there. And I was so into exercising and everything else that I was taken away from it. And then when I was messing around with some things and messing around with alcohol, messing around with stimulants, then I started to realize, hang on, this does have something to do with clearing my head. This does have something to do with this has an effect. It's if you're drinking Monster drinks, if you're drinking tea, if you're taking caffeine pills, if you're taking no doses, whatever it is, if you are taking methamphetamines, if you're taking, what is that? It's not coming to my mind right now. Adderall, that's a form of methamphetamine. It's not methamphetamine, it's similar. If you're using cocaine, if you're using even nicotine, to an extent, has some kind of stimulant, and it has something to do with dehydration. Yes, it does. Nicotine as well. Cigarettes, chew, whatever. And so there's these things that are gumming you up, and there's these things that relieve that, whether you can identify or you have understood that that's what you're doing, why you're doing it, not just for fun, not just for spirits, not just for entertainment. I don't think any of us are really happy to sit there and drink half a bottle of vodka so that way we can feel better for the week, and we have to go through 3 days of hangover to maintain that. I'm saying that's not necessary. That's not something that you need to do. And there's possibly for you another route. I'm in a low, what do I got to do? One thing that keeps you going is carbohydrates. That's one thing that keeps your cells going. Check. Okay, so I need a carbohydrate. What kind of carbohydrate what kind of carbohydrate can I eat that doesn't have potassium, calcium, or glutamic acid? That would be rice. So I have a rice cooker. So what I do is I put a couple of cups in the little rice cup cooker, and I usually get the Maddie brand. I don't, right offhand, I don't know exactly what it is. It's the purple design on the bag, and I get the Jasmine. That's my preference. I don't get the minute rice because that has added garbage to it. The same as your white breads and all that other stuff has added electrolytes to it, which is interesting that all these different foods have added things that have to do with your minerals and your vitamins. They're adding minerals and vitamins to your foods, and they're such a cutthroat system, such a greedy system is putting all this on there. The free ketchup at McDonald's, you can pump it out as much as you want. Free ketchup, free mustard, free this, free that. Why is it free? Think about that. Moving along. So I'll do rice for about a day, and that's what I'm going to do today because I'm there. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm not going to eat any protein. I'm not going to eat anything. And you can say, well, that's not very healthy. It's not long term. It's short term. I'm doing what I need to do so that way tomorrow I can come out of this. And it takes days to do this, to clear this stuff out of my head every time. And I'm having to constantly do this. It's without drinking half a bottle of vodka. Or a third or a quarter, whatever. I never drink a half a bottle of vodka. Not ever. I don't think I've ever drank it. And I'm talking about a big bottle. I'm not talking about a fifth from the liquor store. The pint thing behind them. Nope. The little bootleg. Nope. Alright, so I won't have any cheese today. I won't have any vegetables. I won't have any of that. And I don't care. And you say, oh, well, you need fiber, you need greens. No, I don't. That stuff makes me constipated. And I'll say to you, it has to do with my brain. Those are high potassium, high whatever. Go back to 2012-ish. I was doing the juicing with the fruits and the vegetables, and I had a pretty nice juicer, and that was the worst off, most depressed, most unhealthy I've ever been in my whole life. And I'm not saying that those things are unhealthy. I'm saying the cause and effect from all the potassium and all the calcium was deteriorating. It was so bad. Take all that out. Everything's moving through me fine for a couple of days. If I have some rice, I'm actually going to the bathroom more, which is good. And if I'm going to the bathroom, I'm a pretty happy boy. Yeah, good. I'm going to the bathroom. These are the things you have to mess with when your brain isn't functioning properly. Not in the way that you'd need it to be. You have so many days of a low or a depression, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And how many times are you going to go through that before you start to say, man, life is just sucking too much? Well, I'm saying, hey, check this out. Check it out. It's a big one. That you look at this yourself, that you look into these things with me. You analyze this too, and you understand this as well. So the root of it is this. So if you can really get down on your foods, then that's a whole nother subject in itself, because some people are not going to they're not going to have the will or the restraint to not just go down to Chipotle and just get a bunch of food, or just go to McDonald's real quick and just get some drive-through, because I'm depressed and this sucks. I don't give a shit. Just give me McDonald's, just give me the large Coke and whatever. Happy days. And then you feel like shit even worse after that. And you say, oh, I feel like crap because this is unhealthy. Well, the reason that you're feeling really shitty that night is for these points that I'm showing you right now. It's, if you look at some of the anticonvulsant drugs that are prescribed to people with bipolar, they have to do with the calcium ion channels. They have to do with ion channels in the brain. It has to do with osmosis. It has to do with blocking this, blocking that. And that's not going to do you any good. If you are blocking this, blocking that, and then you're still going to be needing those electrolytes. And if you don't really know how to deplete them and put them back in, deplete them, put them back in, to where you can still manage your body, where you can still manage your head, then it's all you're really going to do is you're going to have a buildup of this chemical inside of your body, and you're going to feel like shit, and then you're going to go back to whoever it was that said okay for it, and they'll say, well, let's put you on something else, and you'll go through that for so long. Maybe you'll just do that for 20 years. I call that spinning your wheels, whatever. Maybe you're taking lithium out the yin yang, forgetting your name. Maybe these things help you. And I'm not saying not to take them. If they are helping you and you're rocking and a rolling, and it's been long term, I say, hey, good. It's good for you. And your brain is rolling and you can keep going. I say, hey, that's cool. Good for you. If not, then maybe what I'm talking about, with or without them, could be good for you. Or something to analyze. I've noticed that if I take in, let's say I was to have bananas, potatoes, chicken, and cheese, that will be the most depressed I will be. That's the most depressed I will be. Let's say I have a bunch of ribs with a bunch of barbecue sauce and cheese and French fries and this and that. I'll be depressed. And I'm talking about having a 5-pound brick inside of my brain. Stomach is not going. I'm not using the restroom. My brain is screwed. And then I don't eat anything for a while. And I drink some alcohol. And I drink some coffee. It's a miracle. I feel better. Or I don't eat anything at all. 0 for 2 or 3 days. And I'll feel great. Great. And then as soon as I start taking in food or drink again, I don't feel good again. Cause and effect, my friends. Cause and effect. And I really do want to share this with my friends that I've met on this site. And there's some people right now that are going through some lows, and I want to put my arms around them, and I want to tell them that I love them. I want to tell them that we can have a bright day at some point. I've been through a couple lows myself. And this is really the cream on the top that I can give you. This is the sweetest thing I can possibly give you. Because this is years and years of me messing with things. Because that's how I do it. Not everyone has that behavior. Not everyone has that. I do. I just go over something over and over and over again. So that's for you. You're not alone. There's a lot of people sitting in a room right now not wanting to be here anymore. And there's a reason for it. And there's a reason why some days you feel a little better, and there's reasons why some days not so good. And some days you're in a complete low, and some days you're high, some days you're that. And I'm not saying it's the food. I'm not saying it is the electrolytes. I'm saying it is your brain that you were born with is functioning this way. And the cause of this has to do with what you can analyze yourself and look at the research, look at online, look deep into it, that it also has to do with ion channels and glutamic acid. And the drugs they prescribe you have to do with these. They're hitting on it. They're touching on it. They're getting on it. As far as antipsychotics go, I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not even going to go there at all. You're a human being. You have desires. You have dreams. There's things that you want too. And if we say to ourselves that we're messed up, or if we say to ourselves that we're not whole or whatever, well, I want to say that we're a different kind of prototype of human being. We're a different entity in itself. And we could have we can have dreams. We can have love. We can have feelings. If you say to yourself that you're not whole, or you're some kind of dysfunctional thing, well, then you've already made up your mind. Yeah, I'm a freak. I am a freak. I don't fit in really much of anywhere. And at this point, I don't care. Not as much as when I was a younger guy. If there is a little bit of care there, it's usually through some kind of mood swing emotion. And then other days I could say, well, I don't give a shit. I could sing it. It's not a mystery. And people with individuals that have schizophrenia, it's common that they smoke cigarettes. Well, there's something about the nicotine that has something to do with their minds, their functioning. They can process. It's not uncommon that bipolar people they use a lot of alcohol and they use a lot of cocaine. Or they use a lot of, they themselves can be heavy smokers, or something along those lines. Heavy caffeine drinkers, whatever. Mainly alcohol. And I've watched some videos where one gal was talking about how she will drink on impulse, and she hates that, and she'll say, oh man, I'm drunk again. Because you're getting back to that point where you're needing to flush that stuff out of your head, whether you want to realize it or not. It's not so much a psycho thing where you're saying, well, I'm loony tonight, I'm just going to drink. There's somewhat of a routine to it. And yeah, you can also start cranking the alcohol in when you're manic. And the coffee. There's really nothing more that I love these days than having some beer and coffee at the same time. It's medicinal to me. That goes out to KK. To me, it is. And I keep it on the lower end. I might drink a little more coffee than I should on some days. One thing for damn sure is I'm not as manic most of the time as I was when I was a younger guy. As the years go by, I'm less and less manic, and I'm more and more low. And I'm more, I'll just say low. Non-energetic. The energy is almost gone. The thoughts of let's get out of this are more frequent, and that's depression. That is depression. So I really don't have to complicate this too much as far as what I do, because that's pretty much what I do. Is I eat rice, and I have some sea salt with the rice, and I imagine that I'm in China or Japan or whatever, and I'm on some rice farm, or Vietnam, and I'm sitting there eating rice with the family. And it's not uncommon for them to sit there and eat rice with very little of anything else. That's the main staple of their meals is rice. Not every territory has Big Macs at any moment of your day, on any whim of anything that you want to have. So you really got to consider it. You got to consider how much you consume of everything that you consume. And this doesn't have anything to do with weight. This doesn't have anything really to do with anything other than the brain. Right now I'm talking about cellular functioning of your brain. So yeah, it does have to do with the rest of your body as well. Your health. Exercising has to do with the loss of electrolytes and the flow and the osmosis of your cells. It has to do with that as well. So if you're considering that, yeah, that does have to do with your health. Because it's not uncommon to be even more depressed when you haven't been active. It's not uncommon to be depressed when you have more stress. Most of us know that. You want to keep the stress down. That does have a lot to do with it. If I'm out shoveling for 2 hours and I say to myself, I should probably put the shovel down and come back tomorrow and do some more, and I don't, and I keep shoveling, then I'm even more depressed. And that is factual from a couple days ago. I was outside shoveling and doing all this stuff, and I said to myself, stop, and I didn't, and I was extremely depressed the next day. And there's a lot of factors, too, with hormones, with what I think DHT, dihydrotestosterone, has a lot to do with it as well. That's males and females are going to be having that situation. Most of the males. It could be either way, though, because the hormones are always balancing in one way or another. You know, women have testosterone. Women do have DHT. For women, a lot of progesterone can have a lot of situations there as well. I don't want to complicate it. It's roughly a matter of electrolytes. And you as a human, especially an American, at any second you can shovel something inside of your face. And even if you are not for a certain amount of time, and then you go to the food, or you go to the drink, or you go to this, ask yourself, what the hell is it that you're sticking inside of your mouth? And what are you digesting? And what are you putting inside of your body, first of all? I can have my food completely plain. I can have my food completely whole, and I'm still going to have this issue, because it still comes down to the electrolytes. Even if I have all the gnarly stuff out, the Totino's pizzas with all the paragraphs of ingredients and everything else, even with all that stuff removed, and it's all whole foods, no sauces or anything, I'm still at this. It's still going to get on top of me, because there's still calcium, there's still potassium, and there's still glutamate. And even if I take the glutamic acid foods out, and I take the calcium foods out, and I have a higher potassium foods for 3 or 4 days, it's still going to be an issue. And right now, I've been taking in a lot of potatoes. I've been taking in a lot of whatever. I'm going to cycle through this over and over and over again, because ultimately I have to take in the calcium. I have to take in the potassium. So when I'm taking it in, I take it in. And I can identify when I've taken in too much, because I'm starting to have issues. So I back off. I back off the calcium. I back off whatever. Yesterday, my sister came over, and right off the bat, she's hungry. She usually is when she comes over. Maybe she likes to have some food with me, whatever. And we made some chicken wings. We made not very many chicken wings. We made 6 chicken wings, and we made about 8 potatoes, French fries. And we sat there and we ate them. And when she left, I was going right into it, depression. And then later on in the day, I had some spaghetti with some tomatoes that I de-seeded, because that's how I like doing it. I took all the juice out of it. I like to have my al dente style spaghetti sauce, whatever, with a little olive oil, some sea salt. That's pure sea salt, always pure sea salt, which probably still has something in it. Not the bottom shelf sea salt that has the extra ingredients in it. Regular sea salt. I have a couple of sea salts. I have Himalayan. I have Celtic sea salt, which is high in magnesium and phosphorus. So is the Himalayan is high in phosphorus, I think. So I don't take in too much of any one. I spread them out. And I have the Select Private sea salt from Kroger, from King Soopers. So I have that. And I put that on my food. So it's pretty basic. And I'm still having this issue. So I really do have to juggle it. I have to to bobble it around. And this cause and effect, self-evident. This does do something. Yes. This is my testimony. I'm testifying to you that this actually does do something. And if I go off and I'm eating whatever, then my depression will be so much worse. So much worse. I wouldn't even be able to fathom how much worse it is. I don't even want to think about it because I don't want to be that low. I hate being that low. I'll eat a bowl of slop that I've made that doesn't have anything in it. Your basic foods. And I'll eat that with a smile, thinking that I'm getting away from even more low. I don't want that. And if I'm high up in the sky, then it's time to take the caffeine out. It's time to take the coffee out. It's time to take out sugar or any of those types of things. And I can bring myself down. It is evident. And if you say to yourself, oh, well, I don't know. Well, you're saying to yourself that you want to keep taking in these kinds of foods because it does have something to do psychologically. It has something to do with it. All your dependencies on your foods for some kind of mood that you have. So if you're in a mood, you say, well, I'm going to have some ice cream to reward myself because that has to do with dopamine. Then that's a whole nother realm of something that you have to mess with to get to juggling electrolytes. Because it's all going to be a matter of fact. Ice cream's going to be high in the calcium. It's going to be high in the sugar, and it's going to be high in the potassiums. And when I'm saying it's the root of what kind of day you're going to have, which I'm definitely saying that for people with mood swings and depression. There's $1 billion industry that would disagree with me on all of this. Naturally, of course. I send my love to you all. I send what I have to you. My mind can go on and on and on about all kinds of stuff. And I've accumulated some things that I can share with you. And if that's the most value that I was to people that went through similar things that I've gone through, that possibly hasn't even been born yet, however long these videos can stay on here, it's very possible that something along these lines could actually save your life so you can live another day, so you can share it with another person, so you can care for other people that need you. Because we all are hand in hand to get through. Which a very miserable thought is if you're completely alone. You know, no one to put their arm around you and tell you that they love you. Where you and I, we have distance between us. You're in a different state, maybe a different country. And that's not going to stop me from making a friend. Being close to someone else, it's not going to stop me. No. I don't want it to stop you. I don't want for it to stop you either. Because there's more days to come if we can make it to that day. And every day that you wake up, there's another day that you can maybe feel pretty good about something that you've done or that you will do for another. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to ask me. Don't be shy. I don't even know if they even have personal messaging on here anymore. I don't even think they do. Maybe they do. I haven't. I looked on it a couple days ago. I wasn't finding any kind of personal messages on here. If there's going to be any interaction on this site, it's going to be publicly in the comments. And where we're at, there's nobody here anyway. So there's not a lot of people that come on these videos, and they're not really mean or any of that kind of stuff, because it's not really relevant to the great majority of humanity. It's a small community we have here. So it's any of you can come on, you can talk to me, I'll talk to you. You can keep it pretty general. If there's something that I was talking about that you are experiencing yourself, or there's something that you think that's coincides with some of the things that you're going through, or you just want to talk about depression, or you want to talk about maybe you tried some of these things that I've talked about and it's not going so well for you, maybe we can pinpoint some things and analyze it and get closer to where it possibly can help you. Because I'm saying one person to another, if you think that it's all crap and it's, yeah, maybe, whatever, that's also a part of depression. The dead end perspective. It's crawling out of those lows takes what little mind control you have, where you are crawling to an elliptical, crawling to walking outside. And this it's more probable that you're going to eat easy things when you're depressed, because you have very little energy, so you're not going to want to cook. You're not going to want to rinse the rice. You're not going to want to put it in the rice cooker. You'll say, well, I'll just get this minute rice, and that's loaded with the garbage. So when you can keep yourself out of those lows, or going to so low, then there's some locomotion going on here. There's some getting through to where you at least can do that. You can at least take a shower. You can at least brush your teeth and floss and take care of yourself. Take care of your hygiene. Get the foods, get the water. Very basic, bare minimum stuff to take care of yourself, so that way you can get on to the next day, and then you understand. You have that perimeter inside of your body where you can say, well, I'm kind of right here right now, so it would be best if I do this today. And I don't eat this, I don't drink this, I don't do this, I don't do that, and then you will feel better. So I'm saying a couple of days of rice and pure sea salt. Go for it. Oh, is it going to be awful for you to do that for a couple of days? I don't think so. I'd say that's a step removed from eating Big Macs and Taco Bell, and pizza, and chocolate milk, and whatever the hell else you can cram down your face. I get another thing I'll share real quick, because I put a scale on the ground, and every day when I'm in my path, I'll step on the scale. When I get up, I know where my weight is, and I know where at night where my weight is. So as long as I can stay within that weight, I'm not losing lean tissue. And if I'm not going over the weight, then if I am going over the weight, I'm eating too many carbohydrates. And that's going to load up my cells even more with this stuff, and it's going to make it even worse. So think about it, pay attention to it, pay attention to some of these things. For another day, my friends, for another day. Napoleon says hi. You saying hi? Yeah, he's saying hi. He's ready to listen to some Tina Turner. You ready to listen to Tina Turner? Yeah. All right. Well, good night.